Welcome everybody to a look at another new 4K Steelbook release, and it is also celebrating its 40th anniversary, much like Fright Night was, and it is 1985's Silverado. So this is directed by Lawrence Kasdan, who we once in one other film from, which was the really rather decent neo-noir Body Heat. But this is a western, clocking in at 133 minutes long, had a budget of $23 million, and in the US it made 32 million. So not a massive success. You look at the likes of Pale Rider, also released the same year as this, cost a fraction of the amount of this. I think it cost about 6.9 million, and that went on to make about 42 million. So yeah, far from the biggest westerns of the year, and certainly not the biggest of the decade. Budget wise, definitely the biggest, especially since after the disaster of Heaven's Gate, which is what really killed off the genre until the 90s, really revived it in fine style. But yeah, nonetheless, stars Kevin Kline, who was in A Fish Called Wanda, Scott Glenn, who was in like The Silence of the Lambs, the original Man on Fire from 1987, The Hunt for Red October, and Backdraft. Also stars Danny Glover, who was in all four of the Lethal Weapon films, as well as Witness and The Rainmaker. Kevin Costner, who was in The Untouchables, and he'd obviously gone to do westerns himself in the form of Open Range, Dances with Wolves, and he was really good in No Way Out as well. We've also got Brian Dennehy, who was in the first Rambo film, but First Blood, as well as FX and The Last of the Finest. Rosanna Arquette, who was in Black Rainbow and After Hours. John Cleese, who was also in A Fish Called Wanda, as well as the Monty Python films. Linda Hunt, who was in Kindergarten Cop and The Relic, and finally Jeff Goldblum, who was in obviously the likes of Jurassic Park, The Fly, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Independence Day, and the, I apologise, the highly underrated Deep Cover. So four unwitting heroes cross paths on their journey to the sleepy town of Silverado. Little do they know the town where their family and friends reside has been taken over by a corrupt sheriff and a murderous posse. It's up to the sharpshooting foursome to save the day, but first they have to break each other out of jail and learn who their real friends are. So it took about 15 seconds for me to be on board with this, and even though this isn't perfect, it, for instance, is a little too long and there are predictable parts to its plot, I couldn't help but be wrapped up in it and the characters within. The cast is also excellent, the score is great, the action scenes are fun, the cinematography is on point, the production is solid, there are several entertaining character interactions, and the pacing is predominantly on point. So yeah, absolutely superb film overall. 4 out of 5. Like I said, the first 15 seconds, after the first 15 seconds, I was really on board with it because of the way it was shot and the action scene that was taking place. Didn't quite keep that energy up throughout the rest of the film, but it still is overall really well done. And I love the silver steelbook that it's got going on. Bit fingerprint heavy, unfortunately, but that's the way it is with these. So yeah, it's on 4K and Blu-ray within. Now, weirdly, this has been on the likes of Netflix UK for quite some time, so it is surprising that it's taken this long for a Blu-ray alone of this to come out, let alone a 4K version. It's not had a physical release before now, as far as I'm aware, which is a shame, really, because it's a really rather great film, and yeah, obviously has a stacked cast. Certainly one of the best casts I've ever seen for a western. So yeah, definitely a great film in that regard. On the 4K disc, we also have the theatrical trailer. In terms of the 4K, looks and sounds absolutely superb. The locales look absolutely excellent thanks to the cinematography, but then the 4K element really does, make that even better. And on the Blu-ray disc, we got a return to Silverado with Kevin Costner, and along the Silverado trail, a Western historian's commentary, as well as the making of Silverado as well. So not quite as many extras here as there was on Fright Night, which had some 13 hours worth, but clearly this film has properly slipped under the radar to have gone this long without even a Blu-ray release. So yeah, but it's great that it's finally got a release. Hopefully more people can now see it, and yeah, absolutely superb effort overall, and one that, like I said, has one of the best casts of a film from this period. Obviously, the 80s was well known for having ensemble casts, just like the 70s were with their disaster films. But for a western, when the genre was really out of favour by this point, it is quite a an outlier, if we're being honest. So yeah, highly recommend seeing this if you haven't already. Certainly one of my favourites from the decade in terms of westerns. But then again, don't have a great deal of choice, to be honest, because there really weren't all that more outside of this and Pale Rider, to be honest. So yeah, but if you have seen it, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. Nonetheless, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.